everybody. Thank you for joining us. Episode 20 of the Edge Grip podcast.
All right.
And with us today, we have Imad and Eric Bostrom, who need no introduction. And we're going to talk about something exciting that they secretly have been up to. So welcome, guys.
Yeah, welcome. And if you do need an introduction, they've both been on the podcast before, so feel free to dig in your library and figure out the episodes, both with Imad and Eric.
Right, because we wouldn't know the number. The indexing system needs improvement.
Yeah. we can't count till 20. It's too much. Great.
Well, so we kind of blew the whistle on the thunder here, but you guys want to tell us what you've been up to and what's the latest thing around Fastrack and your activities?
Yeah, Imad, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So Eric and I are running out of ideas to find great things to do. So, and it's really like it was. We were talking about this for some time, and we've been meaning to help. As you can see, the Fastrack programs in general have always been about helping riders become better riders, become safer riders, become faster. Yet, most importantly, always focus on safety. And then we're thinking about most of the issues that we've encountered, especially running at the track events. We'd see physically demanding tracks like Fontana and others that are in that similar, need of a physical fitness. We've always noticed that half of the crew that shows up to ride with us would start packing it in by 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. They've had enough, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fatigue and their ability to kind of concentrate and stay focused for the rest of the day. And then, of course, people like Eric and others, they could ride all day long and still go for a run after the event is done. So really, the that prompted the need to say, well, look, it doesn't matter how good you are, how good of a rider you are, and all the techniques, everything that needs to be done. However, if you're not fit enough, and when you do get tired, that's when you start making mistakes. You're not able to execute. What needs to be done. You're just not able to do it. So I think, we just kept kind of like going around the topic for a little bit. But the most important thing we kind of zoomed in on, look, we've got to get these riders to be fit so that they could ride their motorcycle and not get fatigued, not lose focus, not get injured. And even if they do get injured when they're fit, for the most part, they're going to recover faster. It's a win-win. They're going to get to enjoy riding the bike more. They're going to get to be able to kind of like last longer, make the most of their money that they spend on a track event. And most importantly, like I said, the key thing is you reduce the risk of injury and lack of focus, which is attributed to fatigue. And then Eric says, I think we're onto something, and I think no one better than Eric to get all these riders into shape. So I think that was a match made in heaven.
Yeah, well said, Imad. Like taking it back, we had set up some programs with Fastrack riders at Fontana. Like, there was the university, there was the academy. Like, we're doing cool stuff, but we realized we had to get a little more granular, and out of that we started doing some camps at my house on the little mini bikes, and then that's continued with Josh Hayes' camp, and the level really that moved the needle. We needed to find things that moved the needle, because it was a little alarming to see riders going out on the track without a plan. It was like everyone thought to go faster, they just needed to try harder. And as we all know, like, trying harder doesn't necessarily mean you go faster. If you're really good, you can try harder and go faster, but that's for like the top 1%. For the most part, it's more making the bike do the work, and knowing what that means and how to apply it. So the cool thing about like doing the dirt camps and the university and the academy is it moved the needle for everyone. Even the people that didn't show up for those events got better at Fontana and Buttonwillow and the other venues, just because they were seeing better examples around them. So that's kind of where we're headed with this program. It's like, hey, we'd love you to be a part, but I think the bigger vision is like, well, none of us are spring chickens anymore, at least not in this podcast, right? And we need to put more tokens in the machine. Like we're our trajectory at we want to keep our trajectory the best we can, which is to not necessarily go steeper, but more like flatter for longer, have that health span that puts us into a much kind of more healthy place in life down the road. And ultimately it extends our fun in the sport that we love so much. And so the goal with like the, university and camps and all these things was, let's get people to stop falling off the bikes for no reason. Let's teach them how to go fast without trying harder. And then the goal with the Fastrack FIT is that, let's now, occasionally we're going to fall off the bike, right? Like this happens. And we want to be resilient when that happens. So the fitness is really important for both, impact and then the recovery side. But we want to really expand this fun zone and say, like, for example, my dad's 84 and he shreds, right? There's not a weekend that goes by that if he doesn't ride, he's not disappointed. Like he wants to be around motorcycles and he wants to be, riding, pushing with his friends. And most of the time he's like, I need you to come out here and ride with me because these guys just aren't fast enough. And I'm like, that's rad. He's 84 and his friends just aren't fast enough. So that's, and so we want to like just push this timeline out. And that's very much the direction of the program. It's like, hey, how much, how far can we extend our fun in this sport that we're so passionate about and the sport that we love?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak firsthand about this because Gal is pretty fit. So he probably doesn't know the difference because he's consistent. I'm not. Sometimes I get busy, I fall off a cliff and nothing happens for a while. And there was a huge difference when we did the academy because I felt like, my hands weren't cramping anymore at the end of the day. If your hands cramp when you're trying to brake at the end of the day, that's not good. You can't focus anymore. You're so exhausted that by the time you warm up, you're on your third or fourth lap where you really should be doing your best times. And now you're starting to get tired already. Or, you kind of in the morning, you're doing your first session or two, or you're kind of a little groggy. When you get to your peak time and you're already tired, then you really have no sweet spot where you can maximize both, you're warmed up and you got some things you're working on, and then you get there and you're too tired to apply correctly. So the academy made a huge difference. And then, firsthand, I can tell when I'm like at the bottom of my fitness level and I can pick it up, the difference it makes in riding and nutrition too, because like I've done a lot of different things. And the focus and mental clarity is night and day when you're eating correctly and you're in good shape. So kudos on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to add to that, Nabil, just like you said, the academy was the tip of the iceberg when it comes to fitness. Like we were just basically, and then that just shows even with little that we can do. So really what we wanted to do is focus on, there's a lot of us riders that don't have a lot of time that we could spend on getting fit. However, it's one of the most important things. I think, so we tailor the program to make the things that actually do count and is going to get you there as quickly as possible. But most importantly, it's not just about fitness, but it's also about the quality and longevity, as Eric was alluding to earlier, is that, we found the recipe of, it's a combination of the nutrition, it's a combination of when you're doing your workouts, how you're doing your workouts, and what is the actual purpose for targeted workouts that you're going to do specifically to the task you have on hand. So
and the motorcycle is very, it's unique in the sense that it's a lot different than cycling, it's a lot different than running, it's a lot different than swimming, or these different forms of activity, because the motorcycle is more of a full body fitness than most exercises. And as we know, it takes a lot more force. It's not it's not like a continuous force like you might think of if you're running or pedaling, but the forces are much higher, which means that they fatigue you much faster. And that fatigue sets into the mind as well. And that's where we see, you know, which is what Ahmad alluded to, by 2 p.m., the track's a ghost town. We're like, this track's expensive, right? Like, and everyone's spent a lot of money to get here. We want them to have the most fun, that, you know, elongate the fun period. And if you're spent after you're saying, you know, let's say your hands are cramping after 4 laps, like, you're not going to have a good session. You know, now push that out into, you know, 2 p.m., you still have 3 sessions, let's say 3 sessions left. That's an hour of riding. How are we going to get people to enjoy that hour between 2 and 5 p.m.? And the answer is, like, you know, fitness. But if you try to cheat it and you go out there and ride when you're tired, we all know that ends up in the crash truck, right?
Yeah, either no quality laps that you're going to run, it's not going to be fun laps, and at the same time, the alternative is also not a very favorable alternative, where somebody ends up you know, losing focus and crashing, etc. I mean, that if you notice, most of the events, and especially from experience I speak, is that most of the incidents we've seen are as a result of fatigue and a lack of focus. So I think if we just take that out of the equation, I mean, you're still going to make mistakes, but if you're fit, like you said earlier, Eric, if you're fit, chances are hopefully you're going to get injured a lot less. And then if you're fit, even if you do get injured, hopefully less, as I mentioned, you're still also going to recover faster. So it's a win-win across multiple venues, across multiple avenues, if you will. And that's kind of like the whole premise of this program. I mean, you know, it's as I say it to others, is this is allowing your partners and people that are opposing you riding motorcycles at a later age to use motorcycles as an excuse for getting fit.
I love that. I love that. For me, it's
because how many of us they keep saying, well, you know, you're you know, you're over 50 and you're still riding, you're over 60 and you're still riding, like your dad's at 84, you're still riding, you know. And then it's like, no, I'm riding because I want to get fit, you know, and it's actually helping me have a better quality of life. And that's really what we're after, is we want to have a good excuse for riding.
Yeah, and we all know, of course, if you want to be fit while you're riding, you need more than one motorcycle, so you always need another one.
Yeah, because you got to push them. The heavier, the better sometimes.
That's true.
Right, body position is going to be a little different. Yeah. But you said something very important, I think. I think Eric said it earlier. Track days are expensive. The quality of the time you're spending, you want to maximize it. But at the same time, if you're tired and you're riding suboptimally, then you're getting bad habits in. And then you're actually going slower and you're sabotaging your learning. So I think people could understand maybe, you know, being less injured. If you crash because you're fit, you can do more sessions. But if you're doing bad sessions, you're not progressing. And if you're tired, you're not going to be able to do good sessions. And that being the investment it is, I think is a very important point.
Yeah, well said. I mean, quality over quantity any day, right? Like, you can go out and learn more in 1 lap, trying your best. If you're, you know, let's say towards the tip of the spear, then you know, all day just burning fuel, burning tires, changing tires, working on your bike, like all this stuff that goes into doing a zillion laps. And at the end of the day, you haven't learned shit. You're just like, you just spent, right? Yeah. The opposite side of that is going out and you know, trying 100% to feel everything, so that you're getting all those, you know, those feedback points, and then you're able to push really hard. And from a coaching side, it's tough, you know, if you have somebody that is not very fit and you're trying to, you know, one of the most important things is like not upsetting the bike. Let's say, you know, especially at Fontana, if you're making transitions from left to right to left to right to left to right, as you do at Fontana, and you're trying to say, hey, you need to come across the seat, as if like you're the weight of a mouse, right? Like you cannot have your input going into the motorcycle, because you're just gonna piss the thing off. You're gonna wind it up, and it's not gonna go well. And they physically don't have the strength in their legs to be able to shift across the seat without actually utilizing the seat. And you're like, okay, we're done before we even started. Move on. but you can't even address the most important point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I think you touched on a very good point at the beginning of the conversation. None of us getting any younger here on the podcast, and I think as someone like myself that's been in jiu-jitsu for I think 21 years, the key to any regimen is consistency and longevity. And I've seen a lot of people fall off the map because either they didn't like what they were doing, it wasn't sustainable with their lifestyle, they was too expensive, they were pulled in different directions. How do you make sure in your personal regimen that you just keep on track day after day, month after month, year after year, decade after decade?
Yeah, that's a great question, Guy. And I want to joke and say it's because you beat them up too bad and they're afraid to come back to the dojo. It really, the only answer for that is that, we need to be motivated, like, for our personal goals. And those goals look different for all of us. The way that we get to those goals is through excitement. And excitement is, having some kind of carrot. It might be a challenge of sorts. And, hopefully we're going to stimulate that challenge and bring the challenge to you to show progress, to kind of like spawn the necessity to do something that is, competitive and against, the group, against your peers, to bring you up. But as we know, like humans, you can, like, that motivation has to come from within too. As a father, I can only do so much to get my daughter going in the beginning of the day. Some of it just has to come from her. And so, of course, there's things I can do to stimulate that, right? And get these little carrots out there. And that is speaking to things that she likes. So in that case, like, I think, these machines are driven by a competitive nature that we have as motorcyclists. And so we're going to have to, stimulate that drive with the competitive nature that we tend to have as motorcyclists. And I think that's through, different competitions and different groups within the platform to say, like, hey, like, I did more than you today, and that's some of the best feelings I can have. I mean, I love competing against people, and it's great that 5 years ago, Imad wasn't riding the bicycle as an avid cyclist or anything like that. You looked a bit different too back then, Imad.
I have the pictures to prove it.
Kind of tease you on that one. But now, like, I'm like, oh man, like, this dude just, like, he just did 80 miles and he's putting out like 217 watts, like, for 4 hours, like, on, it's a big workout. And then it motivates me to go forwards, so that we bring each other up in that way. And we hope that we can, as a community, bring all the motorcyclists up. So very much in the same way that, those camps and university and academy help bring the general riding level and safety up at Fastrack Riders events. We hope that Fastrack FIT will be a stimulus, even if you're not part of the program, to be like, damn, you look good. Like, you see your buddy at the track and you're like, you look fit. And then it's stimulus for you to get on some kind of program and go, get after it.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, like, just one additional thing, Eric, is the gal was referring to the tenure. How do we keep the people motivated and going forward? And I think our secret sauce, our recipe in the academy, in the university, in all the programs that we put together is just making sure that you take a very complex or very complicated task and you make it very simple for the others to understand it. And I think that's what we've done, is like, we're looking at what are the main things are going to make a difference. And then, of course, once you already get ignited, you get into the program, you get that stimulus going, then it's up to you how far you want to take it. But we're saying at the bare minimum, have the basic necessities that you need to ride your bike in a focused way, and also to have a healthier, a better quality of life that you can enjoy with your friends and family, going on a hike, going on, like Eric just did like an ultra marathon the other day, and he could just easily pick up and go and do. Once you have that fitness ready, you're not afraid to tackle new things in life, and then you live your life to the fullest instead of just kind of being always tentative of whether I'm going to be able to make it or not. I'm going to quit. I'm not going to be able to go on that ride, on that run, on that hike, playing with the kids, running around in the park, whatever it is, right? So that comes as the byproduct of just getting you, to start building good habits, and making it simple enough that you are gonna stick to it, instead of, if it's too complicated and if it's overwhelming, most likely you're gonna giving up and quitting, right? And that's not, you're gonna say, it's just not for me, I can't do it, because you can't finish the exercise, etc. We're gonna make it in a way that it's actually attainable, and it's like, and then, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but like, I'm an engineer by training, so everything that we do is also measurable, right? Like, we're gonna be able to measure the progress, we measure the success, and we're partnering with amazing entities that allows us to give, like, very credible, that allows us to move forward. And I'm a byproduct of what Eric has put together, so we know it works.
We'll get to the technology a little later. Are there any specific motor related exercises or differences in the regimen that would work for moto that normal people wouldn't do?
Yeah, that's a great question, Gal. I think we're really lucky, like, in the sense of, that the moto physique is a full physique. It's, if we think about, a cyclist, they can ride so much that they might end up, at the highest level, start stripping bone material and weakening their skeleton, doing some, damage to their body. A runner, for example, might end up having to lose more and more muscle mass as to get faster, because that's how you're going to improve your time, just via more lighter weight, more power. And for motorcyclists, it's like we're lucky. Like, it requires muscle, and that's going to take us, that's what humans require as we age, so that we avoid frailty. And this is a major issue across society, as we know. And you think of whether it's grandparents or parents or people that are becoming more and more frail, losing muscle, right? So we need to have this idea of keeping muscle on our skeleton for the rest of our life, and then and that's where I think we're in a sweet spot there. The motorcycle requires muscle, it requires force, and so the activities are very much built around things that can create a lot of force, but there's not like a motorcycle specific activity. It's just it's whole body strength, it's full body strength that gets you to be able to push off your calves, push off your quads, push off your glutes, and then all the way up to the important muscles in the arms, shoulders, neck, everything. I mean, the neck, right? Like, most people aren't worried about how strong the neck is, unless you want to look good, I guess. But like for us motorcyclists, like, the neck is super important. So yeah, we're going to be doing things from the bottom of the toes to the top of the skull, and trying to strengthen each part of the body. And I really think, as motorcyclists, we're fortunate that is a complete full body training regime.
Absolutely. And there was the study, Eric, remember it shows, I think it showed the connection between longevity and people with larger quads, because quads are the biggest muscles in the body, and they said that the bigger the quads, that's a predicting element of how well you're going to age. But to your point, it's look, we don't necessarily only have to focus on quads. We have to focus on everything. The more muscle mass we have in our body, the more strength we have, especially as we age, is going to be extremely, extremely important for the quality of life that we live in. As Peter Attia says, our final or terminal decade, right? So we
don't want to get there too soon, but the reality is if things go right, we're going to get there, and we want to enjoy all of them because we only get a handful of decades as it is.
Yeah. So Eric, one could say you have a little bit of racing experience under your belt, right? And how did you use that experience to create the trainings?
Yeah, the racing experience and what a gift, right? But like real high lows, high highs, low lows, right? Because you're walking on the moon one day, and then the next day you're like all banged up and in the hospital. And I think both those are really important, and how we think about like our fortunately our daily life and how much kind of gratitude that we can carry into the day for like, oh, I'm healthy, like this is a good start to a day, and then also setting ourselves up for being able to stay away from those injuries, right? And the specific on the motorcycle above all is keeping the mind sharp. Unfortunately, there's no like obvious way to train the mind. But the good news is like by far the biggest health intervention across the board for, almost every human disease known is exercise, right? So like and that also happens to be the biggest stimulus for the mind. So, and that goes from, like an endorphin level and an adrenaline level or epinephrine level to into the just the confidence level of like mental fortitude. So as we've all experienced on the racetrack, you're out there, you turn around, maybe it's 100 degrees, and you're trying hard, but things aren't going quite right. The tires are going off a bit. And the suspension might even be fading a little bit. You're starting to feel things sort of like melt down around you. And the mind is a fickle thing, it melts too. And the next thing you're like laying in the gravel trap and you're like, I just missed it, like what did I miss? And it's that, it's losing that razor sharp mind. So everything should be and is focused around that, but it's not like you're playing video games or doing some, I guess I'm thinking of like Lawnmower Man, like some sort of, specific training for the brain. It just happens that as we put in efforts, whether it's, putting up that kettlebell or, let's say trying to improve your PR for, a 2 mile, sprint, sprint might be an exaggeration. I can't sprint for 2 miles. Let's say a 2 mile hard effort on your feet. All of that is the things that stimulate your brain and keep you from melting on the bike when everything else is melting down around you. So that is the biggest part I can take from racing and doing long races. 100K superbike race. You're 35 minutes into the race. Again, like things are fading around you, and you are trying to figure out how can I stay as sharp as I can, and it all comes down to that what you've put in, the work that you've put in to get there. And it's not unachievable. A lot of people think like, you need to put in, people might have the misconception that you need to put in 30 hours a week to have this like strong training regime or something. And it's not. You can do a ton with just a handful of hours a week. I mean, if you have 5 hours a week, and most of us do, like you can really move the needle. So I think that's the other exciting part is like, if you can just commit, you're going to see more growth than maybe you thought was imaginable.
What about diet? Your plan does include diets. Do you have certain diets for certain body types or certain people? I know you're vegan. Uh, Imad, I'm not sure about you, but do you have certain plans for certain goals for certain people?
Yeah, it's a great question, Gal. I've went off the plant-based diet, and so I'm a little bit more of an omnivore these days. Partially because the I think as the body changes and as we age, you have a decreased anabolic response to protein. So as we age, we just need more protein. It's you know so, something that is going to help stimulate or you basically keep your muscle mass through age. Um, and so I've incorporated that a little bit in. The other side, as we get a little bit older, the blood glucose gets a little bit tougher to control, and so it's a little bit easier to do that when you're eating, like, let's say, meat proteins versus plant proteins. It's pretty difficult to control sometimes how much carbohydrates are in the the plant-based diet. Not impossible, but it just takes a lot of work. And so I've been playing with things. Um, but the the app is set up so that you can kind of like find some favorite foods and start favoriting those, and um, and then try to create like a meal source that you like. Um, the biggest thing, like, I'm a firm believer in, you know you have a set amount of macros that you should take in to be at your optimum, at your optimal, let's say, weight. And then you should try to get the micros in there for the obvious reasons of feeling sharp. And that might be like your minerals, things that make your brain fire, um, and things that you might feel sluggish without. But I think most people are very confused on diet. Diet's super confusing, and we don't want to overcomplicate that by putting in a bunch of new information. It's more like, track it for a bit. Here's some meal suggestions, and see if you're on pace with it. Maybe you think that you're eating, maybe your goal is to lose, of 5 pounds over time, or maybe your goal is to lose 30 pounds over time, or maybe your goal is to put on a little bit of muscle mass. Um, where are what are you achieving with your diet? And and in this case, as I'm approaching 50, what are my protein numbers looking like compared to the carbohydrates? That one's really important to me, because and it wouldn't have been as important when I was in my 20s. So it's much more catered towards, like, doing something that's achievable, because diets are very, very hard to stay regimented to. As we know, it's the number one fad to drop off of is a diet. So we don't want to, like, intervene too hard. It's more of a guide. And it's like, hey, this is what 2,700 calories a day feels like. Try to get in that window to be your optimum. And and then if you slide out of it, you might feel one way or another, right? You might feel bloated because you've overeaten, or you might feel the sluggish because you're undereating, or if your goal is to put on a little bit of muscle, maybe you're just not putting on muscle. Let's change some things. So it's sort of it's sort of a platform where we can just make micro adjustments, but with the real intervention is exercise, and I can't stress that enough.
So, and it's amazing, Eric, like during our testing, how most people, how far off they were from what they thought they were eating and how much calories they're getting in and what was the composition of those calories going in terms of macro. It was very difficult for a lot of people that, oh, I eat a lot of protein. And I was like, well, once we started counting the protein, I was like, it's 25% of what you should be eating. And I was like, well, but I can't eat that much. Otherwise, it's going to be like, I'm too full. And then we got to look into supplements and stuff. But it's just amazing until you start tracking it, how far off we found during the test phase people are in their perception of how much they're eating and what are they really eating.
Yeah, I think it's really important to set some baselines there, and you get into the same thing with fluids and hydration, and also misconceptions. The simple misconceptions that, you know, like, uh, like I should be watching sodium, and for many Americans that is true, but for most of us motorcyclists, we're on the opposite end of that. We're fairly fit, and we happen to, sweat a lot, and 6 grams of I'm sorry, 6 grams of sodium, which sounds like insane to a lot of people, is like, no, we like 6 grams of sodium is like, I've taken 6 grams, otherwise I'm going to get a bad headache. My mind's not going to be sharp. Just setting some simple parameters.
Right. So do you guys want to describe the program? I know there's a fitness component, there's a nutrition component. What does it look like?
Go ahead, Eric.
I feel like I've been talking too much.
No, that's fine. Doing great.
Get the introverted engineer talking.
I know, exactly.
I know. Like I should just sit and listen.
Well,
I'm recording all this data here. So
I think the probably one of the big problems that we have is overcomplicating things, and we only have so much time in a day, and everyone could everyone could be plant-based, perhaps, if they could cook in their kitchen all day, for example. This is a little bit of poke at us that enjoy a plant-based diet, and I'm big on plants, but the reality is sometimes it just overcomplicates things, and so the segue there is that, whether we're dealing with exercise or nutrition, it's not really about exactly how you take it in. It's just that you take it in, right? And so finding the right fit. It's putting some good formats and good regimens in front of a person and saying, are these speaking to you, and can you handle this workload? And are you, perhaps the most important, are you enjoying this? If you're not enjoying it, then we need to tweak some things. And hey, maybe this just in the end isn't for you. But food's very much the same, right? Like if someone's gonna say, hey, you gotta chew on bark all day to get to your goals, you might be able to do it for a week, but after that you fall out of the program. So I think it's so important to try to say, hey, if you can, if we have basically this net, and you can land somewhere in this net, you're going to make improvements, and then we can start tweaking it towards the ultimate, more towards your goal and our goal, which is to have this longevity and the ability to recover and hit these workouts quicker. Because one thing obviously we know is if you're out of shape, you might be able to do a workout, but you're not going to be able to do it tomorrow, right? It's there, you kind of fold under the routine. And so to try to be able to build a person up, and I think in the early days, Nabil, we experienced this where there were a few that were too hard, and you're like, Eric, that was a great workout, but I'm not able to do it tomorrow. I can't walk, right? And so we know we did too much, and that is and that is much the probably the most important feedback I get, which is, oh, back her off. So it's really about creating an experience for each individual to say, this is working, and well, what's working, what's not, and then try to cater that experience to the individual.
Great. So I also understand there's an app. Do you guys want to talk about this a bit?
I'll talk to let's talk to the app developer about that one.
All right, get the engineer out of his shell.
Yeah.
So the app is really the as you could see, a lot of people probably not big advocates of having apps and having to use apps, etc. But I think it's more of just a tool and a guide to allow you to track all the workouts that you're doing, to remind you what you need to do on a daily basis, and also to track your food, nutrition, set up your appointments, do some exciting challenges that we can add into the app. And we will be doing that as we move forward. The whole idea is to make this just kind of like what we've done for all the Fastrack events, whether it's the academy, the track day events, the university, all the programs that we put together. We also want to have that edge of competition in between, so that it kind of like pushes us to the next level. So the app allows us to do that as well. Allows us to have events, allows us to have live workouts from time to time. Depends on the program that you signed up for. Will be like one-on-one training with Eric, some events that we do for cycling, hiking, running, etc., or maybe even traveling to Europe. But we're not going to take you with us to Europe and put you on this like really difficult, challenging ride 8 hours a day if you're not fit. So maybe that would be the carrot that we're showing, that, in order for people to qualify to go on these trips, they need to have also shown that their fitness level is there, because otherwise it'd be torturous instead of like super fun. So that's kind of the gist. The app is just, we want you to look at it. We want the app to be as seamless as possible. We don't want people to think about the app that they're using the app. So it's not like the app is just more the guide. And then the platform we're using is very powerful, allows you to run through the workouts, and also do all the communications and everything, and the challenges and what's coming on, and just kind of keeping you on track. You could take pictures of yourself before and after. We ask you to take your measurements, your pictures, etc. So, for those who actually like to see progression, it's absolutely perfect. For those who don't like to use the apps a lot, they could use the bare minimum, but it will still guide them through.
Yeah, and the app is the interface, right? And from my side, it's like my whole life, like I've loved pushing myself and love the competition angle, and that competition is inward oftentimes. Like, this hill kicked my ass last time. Like, how am I going to fare on this go around? And with that, it's kind of interesting, because if I stick to a single sport, whether it's maybe cycling or running or some kind of like cardio, or even stick to a single zone, like I'm gonna stick in zone 2, and try to expand my engine, and basically stay in the aerobic zone. Like all of these things, I can I can do pretty well on my own, because I have this base behind me. But it breaks down when I'm like, let's say here in the garage, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a workout. It's like raining outside or something. And I'm like, okay, what's next? Because I've done I've done some pecs, and I've done some shoulders, but it's like I lose motivation just off thinking about what I have to do next. Because when you're working out hard, you want to have a guide. You want to be led through this process of like, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to follow the guide. I'm going to finish these workouts, and I'm going to feel great after I do. But I don't want to think during that time, because I'm putting all of my energy into putting up the weight. And that is where the interface, I think that, on the app itself is really working well for us, is being that guide in the moment during the times that are, during the efforts that are hard. And those are going to be also in those efforts, let's say the cardio efforts, where you're doing zone 4, zone 5, especially zone 5, and let's say taking you through an interval process where everything in your body is saying you need to stop, and that's when you go. That's when you need to keep going, because that's where the biggest gains come, especially in terms of VO2, but also in some of that mental fortitude. You have that timer to say, okay, I just need to get 10 more seconds out of my body, and then I can actually stop, and then you finish the workout and you feel like, shit, that was hard, but I feel really good, because like every time I wanted to quit, I stuck with it. And that's what also is like, you're let's say, 40 minutes into a superbike race and people, lap times are dropping and people are starting to slow down and you can take advantage of it and improve your position or stay on the motorcycle because it's those little glitches that, you catch yourself in a gravel trap 40 minutes into a race.
Do you need any special equipment when you get the app? I mean, do you need to buy a bike? Do you need to buy dumbbells, kettlebells? What should people expect?
Yeah, great question, Gal. Really, it's pretty simple. The goal is to get some adjustable weight dumbbells. Tend to be between $200 and $300 for a set of those. That's probably like the big ticket item. From that, it's a yoga mat. There's $20 to $40 depending on your taste. Then some elastic bands are always nice, like workout bands, $20. So and then good pair of trainers, right? Like so just staying in some shoes that you like. If you have a bike, let's say you're a cyclist and you want to do all your cardio on a bicycle, great. If you're like doing your cardio, let's say on a set of stairs by your house, you can do that. I think we're not rigid in how we do cardio. It's just that you're doing it. Maybe you're a swimmer, maybe it's a trail runner, whatever that is. I think the program, we need to cater the program to the athlete and find their liking. So yeah, it's all in. I think it's less than $400, and I think that is like we all deserve to spend that on ourselves. It's a no-brainer.
Right.
Yeah. And really what you expect when you sign up is you get the information via questionnaire, so we understand more about your goals. What are you looking for? What do you want to get accomplished? Where are you at in your level of fitness, etc. And then you get assigned to the coach, Eric Bostrom, and then and then he'd be able to kind of assign the program that you need to follow based on what you've inputted into that. And then, like he said, even with the the dumbbells, you may already have just a specific size dumbbells, whether it's 25 pounds or 20 pounds that you're using on a regular basis. So maybe you could just push the adjustable dumbbells for a little bit further down the road if you need to. But the most important thing is that you get assigned, you get the program, you get to see, and then you start tracking from that point forward. And then all the communication with us happens through the app, and it's a really pretty slick app. Can't wait to share it to you.
And how easy is it or hard to follow if you have a busy schedule? Like a lot of people work, travel, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's another great question. With a yoga mat, let's say, for example, just because I don't love the idea of being on a hotel floor, I think you could get through. Let's say you could easily get through your strength training workouts with just the yoga mat, or you could easily get through your cardio exercises on even in a fairly inexpensive motel where they might have a treadmill or a recumbent bike or whatever they got there, right? Like you could figure out a way, and I think that's part of a person. A lot like the same analogy as like you don't have to try harder to go faster on a motorcycle. So many of us get stuck in this like sort of no man's zone of like training, which is you want to do, let's say you want to do cardio, and so your cardio you're doing like zone 3, a little bit of zone 4, then you fall into zone 2, and like you're just like you're not really making any gains. They're just no different than that rider that is out on the track doing the junk laps, right? Just burning fuel and spending tires, right? Like that unfortunately is where most of us fall into our training program. And so it's just taking adjustment and saying, hey, you're traveling. Let's say you're traveling to the Midwest for the week, and we're just going to focus on zone 2 here. Like, we're never going to, because we don't want to impact your immune system and or make you tired for the meetings that you have. Like, we're going to do these, like, you in theory kind of have time because you're stuck in a weird place far away. Sorry for any of you in the Midwest, I didn't mean weird, but like the you're away from home, probably away from family, whatever. So you have a couple hours. We're gonna put you into a zone 2 workout that you can really, which is just putting money in the bank, so that when you get home, you have this bigger engine, more more base, and then we can pick up on the hard training routines on the other side. But I think let's say like if someone's away from home and they're just flat out of time, well then fair, take the week off, like that's okay. But maybe you can get a day in at the gym and you only have a half an hour. Let's lift as heavy of weight as you're comfortable with. Like let's try to actually like break down some muscle tissue and do some like neuromuscular breakdown, so that your legs are quivering when you walk out of the gym or whatever, and then you're able to feel like you're moving forward. So we're definitely still in a learning phase with and we always will be with each everyone's individual needs, but the goal is not to have an equipment heavy program, nothing that you're married to, so that it's it might be that yoga mat's the only thing you got for the week, or it might be that the only thing you can do is do walk outside your hotel. Those things are okay, and I think they fall into the program quite nicely. It actually gives us a chance sometimes to hit a recovery week as well.
Yeah, I think really the subtlety in what you're saying, Eric, is so important. It's just like what we've caught. We saw a lot of the riders kind of like not riding smart, but then they're trying really hard. It's the same thing. There's a big difference between building and incurring fatigue, and I think that's what the quality over quantity. So I think as long as you're following the program, you're in communications with the coach, you're understanding what you're trying to get accomplished. I think that's really what it's going to be the biggest differentiator. It's like, we don't want you to just skip from zone 2 to 3 to 4 and back and etc., and just incurring fatigue and accumulating fatigue, instead of like, look, if you stay at this zone, we're asking you to step it back and stay in zone 2 for a longer period of time, and you may feel more fresh by the time that you finish the workout than when you started the workout. But then the aerobic effects of that, of how we're building that motor, how we're building your aerobic engine, that's what's going to help you the most. And then, there are other days where you're going to go all out and you're going to be, trying to hit your VO2 max and hit the other zones. But those are different days, and that's a different, because at the end of the day, it's all like the foundation, the base. It's of the pyramid has always been the aerobic base. So we really got to build that big base.
Yeah, that's it. And like, I think most of us really do kind of get so much endorphin release from the activities that we do. And no bigger one than riding a motorcycle or at a racetrack. Yeah. But like, those endorphins are the things that we sort of just glom onto and go, how do I get that back? Like, man, that zone 5, like that VO2 max workout hurt me, but it's weird, I want to do it again.
Yes.
And so these things all fit into like the idea of macro cycle and the mesocycles in between, and Nabil, to your point, like how you adjust those things so that maybe you're traveling, or maybe it's a holiday week or whatever, you kind of design every cycle should in theory have a deload phase, where you come out of doing hard work and give your body a chance. It's basically a recovery phase so that you can start stepping up the work again, because the training cycle is very much like where you're trying to hit these different plateaus, and each one might have like you can visualize a dip after each plateau that you're trying to just steadily increase the plateaus.
And what's really important, Eric, to say that on the app, if you have an assigned workout for the day today and you're traveling today, or you can't do the workout because you have a meeting, or it's so easy to drag and drop it into a different day. So like you move it from today to tomorrow or the next week or whatever that you want to do. And usually what ends up happening, you don't end up losing these workouts. You just change the timing based on what you see best fit based on your busy schedule.
I think we really want to empower the user to be able to adjust their schedule. I mean, obviously from like the, coaching side, we can do that too, but it's nice to be able to move your own calendar around too, so that workout fits your schedule. And maybe it's just a bad day to do intervals, right? So move that one around, take maybe a easier day where you do some Pilates or core or something, and then shift to intervals in let's say 2 days from now when maybe you're feeling up for it.
I think it's extremely important, because I see a lot of fitness influencers, quote unquote, selling their fitness program on YouTube and online, and it's always the same one cookie cutter. Everything should fit everyone. They just run it one time and then resell it to a million people. And I think it's important to understand that this is a customized program, and you have a personal coach. It's not a one and done where you pay a fitness influencer and it gives you the exact same program that it gives everybody else that buys it. It's something that is especially for you.
Absolutely. We're all different. We're built different. We adapt differently. We eat different. We spend energy differently, and we sweat differently. And therefore the need of salt, as Eric was talking about earlier, is different for each and every one of us, right? So I think that's the key thing is, having a coach that's constantly being able to guide you through that process and readjusting if you're not seeing the results that you're expecting. That's definitely a key differentiator. And then the biggest thing is, we know we know what it takes. For instance, for riding motorcycles, no one knows more than Eric the physical need for riding a motorcycle. So if somebody's not able to slide across the seat, we know where that weakness is, and we're going to focus on that side, right? If somebody's not able to hit the brakes really hard and stop the bike, we know where that weakness is, and then it's a specific exercise that's going to help that person be able to guide it to that level. So I think that's really the key thing is, just like what we did in the academy programs in the past, it was very customizable. It was very specifically, every one of the pros rode differently, yet they were all fast and super fast. And then the key thing is we were only trying to find out what works for that specific individual. And this is no different here.
Great. So there's a fair amount of customization and individualization. But you also explained to me at some point when we were prepping Imad, there's also different tiers or levels of membership.
Yeah, there's 3 different tiers. We have the ignition, and that's basically we're just going to ignite your ability to kind of like get you started and motivated. And so there's and then that is, for the most part, you're always going to get the highest quality of whatever, no matter which program that you get. It's the one that you need more attention, and you require more engagement, level of engagement with the coach. That's how the tiers are structured, So then you have the next level is the performance, which is the mid-tier level. And then we have the racecraft, which is more for the VIP level. And then of course, with each of those, there'll be additional. I mean, on the website, you'll see all the list of all the features that are different between each and every one of those different tiers.
Exactly. If we look across all of them, they all hinge off of the app platform. So there's that is the similarity, and that gives you that work out with the coach, and then the nutrition and being a part of the challenges, these things to kind of get you involved in the program, keep you motivated. As you move up through the tiers, is there's more time built in with the coach. There's more time built in with individual adjustments that you can make, and then at the highest level, it's very much looking at a wider range of parameters, and that moves that goes from blood work to VO2 max tests, kind of like across the board, trying to get a whole body fitness and a health span that is I guess with more information you can just do more. So that's kind of takes you through the 3 tiers and how they are similar in the way that you interface, and then ultimately different in the way that it is executed.
In some of the tiers, like the racecraft tiers, you'll get to join us on ad hoc, bicycle rides or runs or trails or hikes or adventures that we do as well. So that's part of the tier structure.
Where can people sign up?
The Fastrack website, fastrackriders.com.
Fastrack Riders. And the app, is it available on the App Store?
The app is not available for everyone to download and start making use of it. The app is only once you sign up for the membership and the subscription, it automatically, you receive an email where to download the app, which is in the App Store. But if you did download it in the App Store, you cannot access anything, basically. So you receive the email that allows you to download the app and also gives you a temporary password. And then you log in and you start entering your information that we need. And then in order to help you and kind of customize the program for you. And then you can change your password, etc. And then that's how you just get started. So it's not one of those standalone apps that you download the app and you pay for the app, or you pay a monthly subscription through the app. It's all done through the website. So
iPhone and Android?
Both, correct, yes.
Okay.
All right, I got to add some color here. Imad, take me to the day that you perhaps failed the most on a racetrack as far as like fitness. Can you go to a spot? I'm hitting you, I'm putting you on the spot here, but take me to a moment where you just either your mind or body or both completely let you down to
that's really time.
I know that's not true. You got a big motor.
That's no, I think because especially like when we used to run 3 days back to back at Auto Club Speedway, for instance, and I'm usually like, almost like first guy in, last guy out. That mental fatigue, like it comes Sunday afternoon, and I'm definitely have very little motivation to get on the bike and ride, and that is really a bad feeling, because like I really want to ride forever if I can and just keep riding. I just don't want to have any limiter, and that that fatigue, that tiredness is, how many of us always talk to ourselves like, if I go out right now, it's probably not a good idea. I should probably call it off right now. And then once you start having that doubt and that thought, like then most of us end up quitting that at that part, saying, okay, yeah, it's not worth it. Like it's kind of like when you think about tires. If I think about, should I change my tire? I just go ahead and change it because I don't want to have that thought in my head. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. I think like, that would be the limiter, Eric. Like, it happened many, many times where, because especially on a 3-day weekend, we'd be there on a Thursday, setting up for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So come Sunday, and of course we go out and have long dinners and going out, you're staying up really late, waking up really early. You're exhausted. Like you want to ride, but your body's saying, I can't. Like there are some times where I actually almost have to lift my leg to throw it over the motorcycle. Like I'm so tired, and that's a bad feeling. I'm like, you shouldn't be riding. Yes, and I agree. And then that's usually when I start calling it off. But on a high note, with you leading me into cycling, fitness, and everything that you've done, Eric, for me personally, um, that has become less and less and less over time. And I could tell you, like, the recent events I was attending to, I could ride literally for 40 minutes out of the hour and take a 20-minute break and run all day, and then still feel good to go for a run in the evening or go for a bicycle ride in the evening. So I think that's the difference. Like, it's a huge difference for me, at least. So.
Last time, I saw in Vegas, it was the end of the day. There was nobody on track, and you were walking around the pits looking for more gas.
Let's go.
Yeah, I asked you that question specifically because I've seen such a big change in the past half decade, where like I remember the exhausted Imad, and now I see the kid version, which is like it's incredible that 5 years later it's like you're 20 years younger, and it's so great to see. I gotta share a story. I had kind of got out of the racing. I retired and then came back to the Cycle World project, where we're kind of like on a privateer, GS6R 1000. And
that was the white one, right? The white bike. Yeah, I remember that.
Exactly, yeah. And so the my fitness just wasn't there, and I wasn't used to not racing at full fitness. We were at Barber. It was the last race of the year, and it was like the two race format. So we'd already got one in, and I wasn't real pleased with the results, but let's say we're somewhere in the top 6, and then on the second race, had a pretty good race going, but didn't quite have the speed for the podium. So it's kind of like in 4th and steadily going downhill to the point where after, like, as the race was winding down, like, I was having trouble holding myself from like falling into the windscreen, right? Like, I was just like collapsing on the bike, because Barber is a physical track. There's, it's hard to pull a tear off at times on a super bike. And it's probably like 100 degrees and 90% humidity, super hot. And so here I am, just like falling all over the place on the bike, not literally, but like on myself. I can't get out of my own way. Ended up like the crap part of the story is I ended up in the hospital because I think because my speed slowed down, the rider behind me tried to kind of like make a dive bomb attack pass 2 turns from the finish, even though he wasn't near close enough to do it, and ended up crashing into me seconds before he ever got to me, and then it put me in the hospital. Point is, had I been just a little bit more fit, I would have never even been back there. I mean, and I'm not saying that I would. I think my brother got 3rd and I was in 4th, but like, I don't think I could have beat Ben to the podium, but I wouldn't have been in the clutches of the rider behind me that ended up wrecking my day. So that was I'll never forget that race, because it just burns to think that my fitness let me down. We're occasionally going to have those days, but man, that one really burns.
Are we going to see you? Are we going to see you in the future on an R9 in Moto America?
Gal, I wish. I don't think I have the cojones for it anymore.
That's it, then. Okay, I respect that.
He's a father now.
Well, it is. I think you just reminded me, Eric, is like the reason why I started cycling is, if you remember, I injured myself in an incident that with my quad. Getting here, is like, Eric, you got to start cycling. I'm like, dude, I hate these spandex. I hate these bicycles. I'm 46 years old. I'm not going to be doing any of that stuff. Like, this is ridiculous. and then I started, and it is actually exactly what you said. I think that day, Eric, is when you saw that look on my face, when the face was red and I'm saying, well, I'm fine, but I'm actually not fine. And And I think that is the day when I decided to do something really stupid, which is basically remove all the preload from the rear suspension, because I was having some issues with the rear suspension. So even my thought process, my ability to make good decisions, sound decisions, by being fatigued, it starts getting impacted. And that's really what we want to have, like your judgment, your ability to do, because motorcycles requires a very high level of focus and being really concise of what you want to do. The minute that you start having bad judgment, it's going to be across the board. You're going to take passes that are unnecessary. You're going to take corners too hot more than you should. You're going to try to endanger somebody else's life. It's just bad decisions start happening when you're fatigued. I think we want to refrain from that. So
agreed. And then aging.
Then aging. Oh my God.
Aging sucks, right?
That scared me.
Yeah.
But just it takes more knowledge, it takes more tokens in the machine, and we can really have a great health span. We just have to work harder for it. We have to be smarter about it.
Absolutely. I'm fitter now than I've ever been in my life, which is amazing. At over the age of 50, and that's really the key. It's like it's never too late to start. It's actually more important to start. The sooner the better, especially as you're older. And it's really, really important to just really improve that quality of life. I know it sounded like that last decade I was talking about, it's kind of sounded like a little bit negative, but we all have our final decade, and it could be we're living in it right now. It could be an accident that we have tomorrow. We all have that final, call it 10 years as Peter Attea described it. Like, it's basically, we all having that at some point. It doesn't matter when. It could be today, it could be 10 years from now, it could be 100 years from now. It doesn't matter. We all have it. And that's really the key thing, is that you want to have the highest quality of life for as long as you live. And the only way you're going to get there is really by being fit and by really making good decisions from now.
Yeah, it's really it's on point for where we're at in life, and also I have a lot of friends that are a little bit ahead of me in age, right? Like, they're a little older, and I can see them potentially quitting motorcycles. Which, like, if they quit motorcycles, like, they might as well just go jump off the cliff. Like, they live and breathe and everything, fuel and motorcycles and tires, and like where are you going to be if you quit? Like, where are you going to be? Like you're giving away everything that makes you excited. And I think that ties us to life, right? Like, without those carrots, like why are we here? So that is a real, Imad, that was our big talk on this project, is like, how do we keep our friends, especially our friends that are a little more advanced in age than we are, how do we keep them on the bike? Because I'm fearful for what their optimism looks like without the motorcycle, and that it won't happen if they don't keep track of their health.
Absolutely. And Dave, your dad is absolute proof of this, is that at the age of 84, you just kick my ass anytime of the day. And most of us, and the reason is, it's like, it's against all odds, against what most people believe. Is like, as you get older, your reflex time is slower, and you're not, but it's not true. I mean, we want to extend that as long as possible. Yes, you'll have more challenges. It's harder to obtain and gain muscle mass. It's harder to do the things, but if you do them, you will continue on building, and you slow that process down to to its maximum ability to maximize that longevity of what you have.
There are a lot of programs that require blood tests, and then you send that blood test through the mail to a doctor, and they tell you what you're missing, for example, in your nutrition or supplementation, maybe testosterone. Is that something you're going to eventually incorporate into your program?
Yeah, great question, Gal. The implementation of a simple Quest test, right? And maybe you add a few parameters on there, but it's a $300 test, and they're looking at markers that could be huge red flags, whether it's levels of glucose in the blood and different things, down to things that are optimized, whether it's hormone, whether you want to consider TRT, HRT, whatever. and then just the general knowledge of, let's say, if you're a woman is, and let's say you're perimenopausal, like is estrogen, a treatment you would consider, like to retain your bone mass, right? So that you don't lose 25% of your bone mass in 5 years. Like, there, like I think all of these things need to go into our program, and those are a no-brainer for anyone on any tier to go take a blood test. If you're comfortable, share the results with us, and let us help you analyze the results that you're receiving from this test, to make some educated decisions on, and ultimately hopefully be able to push your body farther and be able to push your performance farther.
Absolutely.
That's great. Anything else we haven't covered?
I'd like to cover something. I'd like to first say congratulations to a fellow named Mark.
Oh no! That's where I drop off.
Here's the shit talk.
that has 11 wins, 541 points, and there's still 4 races to go in the season.
Pure luck.
It's funny too, because you can remember him as the kid in the series, and right, and just pure bravado, and oh my god, he's gonna take out the whole pack, and and now we're on the, it's so cool, we're on the other side of that. We're seeing this one of the more seasoned riders out there, the veteran, and this commanding performance, and yet still all the cojones that he's ever had, or at least the majority of them. I can't help but not cheer for more and more as he ages, right? Because it's more difficult as you age. Things change.
Yeah, and he came back from horrific injuries.
Yeah. Those injuries really weigh on us, and they get in your mind, but they get in your body. They affect the way that you move. They affect the way that you ride, and certainly they affect your psyche.
Yeah. I mean, look at Jorge Martin. He's having a hard time coming back. He's on a different bike too, but still.
No, it's a real deal. I mean, I still think it's hard to fault Valentino Rossi's career, but I think the biggest thing that Valley did, the biggest mistake I saw him make in his career, was coming back too soon after he broke his femur at Mugello. Getting back on a super bike 3 weeks later, I thought it was a really bad idea at the time. And I think, you just kind of feel like the egg above the asphalt that's ready to fall and splat, right? You don't feel like you have this armor around you. All of a sudden you're whoa, I'm mortal. And it's real.
Yeah, I agree. I think his riding after was never the same. He was never all the way to the edge after that.
Yeah, sadly. But I mean, and it could be other things, but that was my impression of a rider shouldn't come back too soon. They need to feel like they can take a hit, and that's back to Fastrack FIT. And we need to feel strong when we're on the bike, and we need to feel like we can fall off the thing if we do, because there's a good chance it's going to happen, right? And not be worried about it, not have any anxiety. I'll just ride the bike and soak the saddle, and I'm gonna hit the asphalt, and I don't really care if I do. I mean, I hope I don't damage the bike too bad, but my body will be fine because I'm strong.
Yeah,
exactly. Nabil, you went pretty dark, literally, on us.
Yeah, it's the sunset here, and
it is in Miami.
And
Yes.
I didn't turn the lights on preemptively, so I'm just realizing this is kind of like the sunset. It tells you that it's we're drawing to the end of the program.
Okay. Yeah.
How's Miami, by the way?
Rainy.
Rain?
Like all the time. I think we had 2 sunny days in 3-4 weeks, and next week is going to be all rainy too.
Oof.
Well, it's pretty appropriate because we're talking about that final decade, right? And here we are in the embodying it.
Sunsetting, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I
right.
crossed the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. Go to fastrackriders.com and download the new app. It's available from, you said October?
October 1st is our first day that we launched for the public. So,
October 1st. Do you have some sort of trial run, maybe 2 weeks free or something like that?
Correct. 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, if you try it, if you are not 100% happy with what you're getting, it's a full refund. So.
Okay, so everybody go download the app and get world-class coaching from Eric Bostrom.
Yeah, we will get you fit. We need your effort, but look forward to you really feeling difference, right? And that's on the all the performance sides of our sport, and also just the mental clarity that comes from putting in the effort. So really hope we can help you get there, or get your friends to get there, and that create that energy on the track that is that deep chest that you've been putting in the work to get there, and then you look good when you take off your shirt too, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to personally say thank you to Eric for really having a direct impact on my life in general, and that's he allowed me to do experiences that I have never even thought I was possible for me. And I think, for me, starting, if it works on me, it could work on anybody. That's, and that's really the key thing is the ability to open up all these doors that you don't even think they're possible. And I think, Eric is absolutely phenomenal when it comes to being able to understand what your needs are and how you want to make improvements and custom everything towards what you like to do. So thank you.
Congratulations, guys. Congratulations. I mean, for us in the motorcycle community to have a program that is so comprehensive, so, exercise, nutrition, and so on, have a world-class coach like Eric involved, and have it customized for motorcycle riding is a treat. And it's pretty unique. I haven't seen anything like that yet. So warm congratulations, and we wish you great success with it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nabil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
This has been really cool to catch up and share this with you.
Anytime. And thank you guys for listening.